It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
On a Monday, great to have you all with us all across America and Canada. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. We need to make Mondays like a 2-hour show. That's the only way we'd be able to get it all in. We'll do the best we can. Don't worry. If there's anything we don't cover in the NFL today, we'll get to it tomorrow in our weekend leftovers segment. Our friend Bill Bender drops in quickly. We'll just do a segment with him today on the college football, talk about Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, and Georgia as well. Also get his thoughts on Florida State being beaten by Virginia as well. Sam Yarnell is here. Again, tons to get to from around the National Football League. By the way, if you're not tailing Jason Page right now, you're missing out. 3 of the first 4 weeks, we went 3-1 on my NFL picks. 1 week we had a 1-3, a little blip on the radar, but we've been pretty good overall. Sam 2-2 this week. Make sure you're tailing him as well for all sorts of picks when it comes to the NFL. You can see his screen name there on X at Sam Yarnell. And Sam, we get things started in the NFL, and let's talk about it. Ravens and Chiefs, get to the Eagles as well, who remain unbeaten, but start with the Ravens because we all knew this was going to be, a game where somebody came out 1-3 unless they played to a tie like the Cowboys and the Packers did last night. That somebody was going to come out of this 1-3. It's the Ravens, and they don't just come out at 1-3. They come out at 1-3, and they are bruised and battered mentally right now.
Yeah, my gosh, man. I can't wait because you just know this is coming down the line. So I just got to get out ahead of this as quickly as I possibly can. You just know in 6 to 8 weeks, when the Ravens have won a few more games and are probably on the outside looking in at the playoffs, that everyone's going to try and look back at this Chiefs game and discount it as bad of a loss as it was for the Ravens because Lamar Jackson missed the last quarter of the game. That narrative will never be perpetuated. He looked horrible in this game.
He did.
I got a lot of takeaways from the Baltimore Ravens, but I'm just getting out ahead of this because Ravens fans have a propensity to look back on the past with a little bit of tinted glasses, right? And we are not going to let them say that, this game didn't matter. Lamar Jackson didn't play in it. The Ravens are still contenders. Guess what? They're not. My first reaction and my honest reaction watching this game is, wow, like this is how the John Harbaugh era is going to end. It's going to end with a mid-season firing of a guy who was coaching a team with Super Bowl aspirations, with a quarterback who should be in contention for an MVP, but my gosh, I don't see how you can go on any longer if you're that franchise with this head coach, Jason. The Ravens are completely lost, and I don't know how you have any other takeaway watching what they put on the field yesterday.
I will unequivocally say, there is no way they fire him mid-season. They will not disrespect his legacy and what he's done for that franchise as a head coach mid-season. That will not happen. Second, I actually, Sam, as crazy it's going to sound at 1-3, when you look at the rest of the AFC, Jacksonville 3-1. Are you buying in on Jacksonville yet? I told everybody, by the way, before the season started, the under-the-radar team, they've been really good defensively. But are you ready to buy in on Jacksonville yet? We know what Cincinnati is with Jake Browning at quarterback. The Chiefs are one game better than the Ravens are right now. Are you ready to say you're sold on New England at 2-2? Denver at 1-2. Las Vegas at 1-3. Houston at 1-3. There are still going to be opportunities for this Ravens team to potentially get into the playoffs. I know it looks bleak at 1-3, but I'm not ready to throw this team to the curb right now and say that they're not making the playoffs, Sam. Not ready to do it. All right. Well, listen.
I mean, listen. I don't have the numbers in front of me on how hard it is for 1 and 3 teams to make the playoffs, but it's not easy.
No,
right?
Of course it's not.
You've gone from playing in the NFL to now, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sorry, you're playing in college football. You can't lose a game the rest of the season, because if you do, the hounds are coming for you, and you're probably gonna miss the playoffs. You got to play almost a perfect season from here on out if you're the Baltimore Ravens, because you still got to build in for a loss or two. So yeah, their football has to be perfect from here on out, and they haven't played perfect football outside of maybe 1.5 quarters season. So no, I'm not going to buy on that team to all of a sudden turn it around.
It's remarkable to think about where that team was, midway through the fourth quarter of week 1, and where they are now. It's a remarkable thing to look at. Talk about from the Chiefs' perspective, huge win for them. Mahomes played like Mahomes. You could see what Xavier Worthy and getting him back obviously meant to that team. Congratulations to the Chiefs. They have righted their season. They're 2-2. Eagles, they've righted the season. They've righted the season. They're going to be a playoff team.
This is a Ravens defense that has given up, let's just 38. This is the fewest points the Ravens have given up all year.
Yep.
That's hilarious. No, I'm not buying back into the Chiefs because they looked like themselves.
Not even as a playoff team? Not even as a playoff team?
Against a statistically one of the worst defenses in the NFL right now. They'll probably make the playoffs, like I've been saying, because they've got a deal that they made a very long time ago with the devil. But I don't think they're going to win their division, and I certainly don't think they are their former selves. I'm not buying on the Chiefs yet.
2-2, just a game out in that AFC West. Give me a thought on the Eagles now at 4-0. You've got 2 4-0 teams, and we'll get to the Bills coming up in about 15 minutes or so. But the Eagles are 4-0. They win on the road again. They do the fake tush push and get a couple of scores that way. And teams are saying, hey, we're going to take away Saquon Barkley and make Jalen Hurts beat us, essentially. And in the second half of yesterday's game, Jalen Hurts in that passing game, they weren't beating anybody, Sam. But they managed to get a win on the road against a good, not great football team.
A very, very good Buccaneers team that was very injured, and I think people tended to forget about that at about halftime of that game for whatever reason. Real quick, last 4 quarters for the Eagles passing game in terms of passing yards. First half against the Rams, -1. Second half against the Rams, 203. First half against the Bucs, 130. Second half against the Bucs, -18. Something's not right in Philadelphia.
I'd love to have something not be right and be 4-0. I would. Look, everybody's got their warts. Everybody has their warts. And we'll get to what I mean about that coming up in about 15 minutes on the show. But we got to talk about the Ryder Cup. It was a wild scene in New York this weekend. We'll get to it next. Now, there's not a world where in the month of September, late September, there's not a world where we'd ever be talking about golf in the B block, segment 2 of the show. Except if it's the Ryder Cup. And especially this Ryder Cup. With Europe taking down the U.S. 15-13 in a score that was much closer than what it actually was, especially after the first 2 days of this event, Sam. But I have to tell you, yesterday, so let me set the scene in the Page household yesterday. We're watching this thing, and I don't know what the odds were on the U.S. to win the Ryder Cup at the beginning of the day. I know 5 or 6 holes into these matches, though, it was plus 5,000 for the U.S. to win. And at some point, it actually got down to plus 200 on the U.S. to win, which tells you just how damn close this thing got. And that the odds makers and the live betting kind of shifted so dramatically throughout the course of the afternoon. And I'm just sitting there staring at my screen going, man, am I going to kill myself for not, betting on the U.S. when I saw it at plus 5,000? Glad I didn't, because they didn't wind up winning. But Sam, your overall thoughts on the Ryder Cup, I'll let you go first.
They never had a chance. My gosh, my takeaway from them offering all these plus money prices on the US that were all horrible, 50-1 was horrible, and plus 230 was horrible. You know why? Because all of those sports books that are putting out those lines operate in the United States of America, where everybody wants to bet on the United States of America, and they can build all those massive, beautiful buildings out in your neck of the woods because all of these people that are just so USA foolish. No, the USA never had a chance, and I don't know why this, because Europe came out, honestly, hungover on Sunday, as they should have been after the dominance they put out through the first 2 days of this tournament. They came out hungover because they knew they were going to win this tournament if they sleepwalked through the final day, which they did, and they still won. We'll get to the crowd thing in a second, because there definitely is something to be said about that. But from a pure golf perspective, this was never close, and it's really upsetting to me as an American and a general fan of American sports that the U.S. Golf Association is going to get away with not having to change too much before the next Ryder Cup, because they were absolutely horrible through the first 2 days of this Ryder Cup. And again, the only reason they made it as close as it was because Europe came into the final day knowing they didn't have to try to retain the cup. So no surprise. You knew this was going to happen if you listened to the show. I don't know what all this hype was about the U.S. team just because they had one good player who, by the way, didn't show up in this tournament. Oh, my God.
Scotty Scheffler takes the biggest hit of anybody coming out of this thing, because if you want to look at a 15-13 final score, you could look at Scotty Scheffler and say, yeah, you cost us. You cost us. And if you look at the first 2 days, Friday and Saturday, he had several opportunities where he hit bad golf shots in big moments. And for all the Scotty Scheffler talk, I don't want to hear anything about Scotty Scheffler, best of this, best of that, because he wet the bed in a big way this weekend.
And anyone who, that's the thing, right, is anyone who came into this tournament thinking that America was going to win, the logic behind it was, well, they've got the best player in the world. Don't care that Europe's got number 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 11, and 12, but, U.S. has the best player in the world, so they're going to win the tournament. That's not how this kind of thing works. I hope this is a lesson to everybody, but it won't be, because no one's going to hold the U.S. Golf Association accountable for the mistakes that they made along the way. And a moment for Captain Keegan and the absolute meltdown that was both afternoon sessions. Sunday a little bit better than Saturday, but I mean, they should have fired the guy Saturday afternoon just off the fact that he essentially re-rolled the same pairings.
Yep. And I'll tell you another thing, and he took a little flack from this, or gave it to himself. He said, we set up the course too easy. That was not the Bethpage Black we know. That was not the Bethpage Black that we know. Now, granted, both teams are playing on the same course. So there's no excuses in that regard. But if you're going to play Bethpage Black, play Bethpage Black. Don't play a watered down version of Bethpage Black.
You're right. I think that for me, from Keegan, it was every excuse in the book this weekend. Because after it was we didn't set the course up hard enough. Well, first of all, you set the course up strategically because you thought that Europe wasn't going to be able to bomb the ball the way your team was. So you cut down the rough, and turns out they've got Tyrrell Hatton and John Rahm who can hit the absolute nuts out of the ball. So anyway, the other thing out of Keegan that I couldn't stand was the whole envelope thing at the end, and now they're, copious amounts of talking heads, of which I am one, on your TV screen today talking about how this envelope rule has to be revoked, and oh my gosh, the U.S. lost because Victor Hovland pulled out with an injury and halved his... Okay, so I got news for you. First of all, learn ball, because this started in the 70s, yes. Right? The envelope rule. And in 1991, it helped the U.S. win the Ryder Cup. It is the reason the U.S. won the Ryder Cup, as a matter of fact. So I'm done with that excuse. And we've only got 2 minutes to get to the crowd that everybody seems to not be to be talking about. From sea to shining sea, the other way, right? The whole world's talking about all these people on Long Island and how they treated these international golfers. Wow. Breaking news. Long Island does not offer America's finest human beings. I mean, it's like we're surprised here. As somebody who spent a large percentage of my life living on Long Island, I can attest, probably the worst place to have a Ryder Cup if you're trying to show the good that a country can have.
On the fans thing, let's not pretend that Europeans at Ryder Cups don't get on U.S. players too, though. This was to a different degree, and it was bad. And you had you had fans getting arrested, fans getting thrown out. It was not a good look.
Jason, it's because they were Met fans. They were mad about the Marlins games.
Fair enough. On the Victor Hovland thing, let me just say this, though. You got that big a lead. The guy played on Friday and Saturday. Get out there and play on Sunday. That's my point. And then I don't want to see you laughing and yucking it up and hiding behind other guys and smiling on the 18th green after your guys win the Ryder Cup. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that shot. I don't want to see that video because it only pisses me off more. The U.S. didn't lose because of it, but it still wasn't a great look that they went and took that half point when Hovland probably could have been out there playing on Sunday. And I hope the 15-13 final score doesn't take Keegan Bradley off the hook, because he certainly doesn't deserve to be taken off the hook. He did a horrible job in this Ryder Cup. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show, and great to have you with us on this Monday. Bill Bender joins us in 10 minutes to talk college football. I was eating steak out on the patio on Saturday night, Sam Yarnell, watching Penn State and Oregon. And it started raining. It doesn't rain in Las Vegas. While I'm eating steak on the patio, it started raining. I had to go run and find cover. I know.
Play the lottery.
Exactly.
Do you know what the odds of that are? It rains like twice a year there, doesn't it?
It's rained a little. We get a little drizzle for shizzle once in a while. It's not, it's not always sunny in Las Vegas.
Cut that out of the show. Cut that one out of the show. That one's got to get left on the cutting room floor. Drizzle, faux shizzle.
I might enhance it now. I might put an echo on it. All right, let's talk about a couple other games from Sunday in the NFL. And again, if we don't get to your team today, don't worry. We're going to get to it tomorrow in weekend leftovers. I'm starting to think about just never booking guests on Tuesdays and just doing NFL straight up because there's so much to talk about. So, Sam, let's talk about the Bills improving to 4-0. It wasn't anything pretty or glamorous against the Saints. And I don't know what the numbers are, and I'd have to go and look at the standings. Let me see about New Orleans. Obviously, they're winless. I wanted to see what their points for. Wow, they're a minus 55. One of those has to be from one game, though, because it feels like they've played a lot of close games. All right, I'm done talking about the Saints. They're 0-4. Let's talk about Buffalo at 4-0, Sam.
They lost by 31 to the Seahawks.
That's where
so
it
outside
is.
of that, right? Like 3
games
combined
yes.
by 20 points, not bad. Like they have a chance to be a cover machine this year. I'm worried about the Bills. I'm worried about the Bills.
You should be.
The Bills don't look good. The Bills, I'm not going to say they're the worst looking 4-0 team in the National Football League. I mean, we just got done talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the disarray and we didn't even talk about the fact that A.J. Brown's out there tweeting after the game, trade me already. But yeah, the Bills are the opposite of the Eagles, man. It's so funny. The Eagles are like, they'll put it together decently well, at least for like a half at a time on the field. But that franchise is just disarray off the field. Like, you know that there are countless problems in that locker room. Dom DeSandro is putting out fires on a daily basis. There's a reason they pay that man the way they do in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the Bills are like the Chief Capital vibes team. Like, nobody is going to break the power of friendship that the Buffalo Bills have behind this unicorn superhero quarterback in Josh Allen. But oh, by the way, they play like a JV football football team when anybody hands the ball off to a semi-good running back. Like, this is the most confusing Super Bowl contender I can remember us seeing in recent memory. Because, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, again, I'm not going to say they're the worst 4-0 team in the NFL. They're not. But they're certainly not... I'm also not going to say they're not the best team in the NFL, because I think there's an argument that they are. But, Jason, my point is this. They've got to do something about this run defense if they want to not have what's happened the last 5 years happen to this team.
I think we are so used to in this league. Can I say this to you, Sam? I think you're spoiled. I think you're spoiled. I think we're so used to somebody, especially by the end of week 4, which is usually where you could start stamping things. You could start feeling comfortable stamping things after week 4. And we're so used to being able to stamp week 4, contender, Super Bowl, the top of the heap. And we just can't do it this year. We just can't do it. That's sort of where we are through the first 4 weeks of this season. And the expectations, Green Bay through 2 weeks. You want to crown them? Then crown them. We were ready to crown Green Bay after the first 2 weeks of the season. And now we look after the last 2 weeks and we're going, huh? Like what? What just happened here? I think this thing is going to be by the time, I still think it's going to crystallize. I just think it's going to take a little longer. We're not baking it at 450. We're baking it at 325. It's a slow bake of whatever's in the oven in the NFL right now, Sam. That's sort of I'm always thinking about food. So that's where I'll go with that. Packers.
We're smoking it. You got to leave it out there overnight. You got to put it out there at 6 p.m.
There you go.
Check on it at 4
Let it
a.m.
marinate. Let it marinate. If you want to make a good steak, you properly marinate it. Give me a thought on the Packers and the Cowboys as well last night, because the Cowboys I'll tell you, we've never been more right about a team than we are about the Cowboys, though. If we could just do analysis on the Cowboys, we'd be fine, because they are exactly what we thought they would be. They are fun on the offensive side, and man, do they suck on defense. And hey, let's go make a trade and trade away Micah Parsons and bring in a guy that can stop the run, and then you can't stop the run all night, and you can't stop anything on these little swing passes that the Packers are doing. What a wild football game. And may I just say this? I know they'll never do it. We got to get rid of ties. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a game that good end in a tie. And by that good, I just mean entertaining, lots of scoring. Because from what I saw last night, neither of these teams are going anywhere.
Disagree. That tie was exhilarating. And that's the thing. Ties are exhilarating because they're so rare and they're so hard to get. I actually think that the tie is one of the best parts of the NFL. And not only is it fun in the moment that we're getting it, right? Like watching Brandon McManus, or was it Brandon Aubrey?
It was Brandon
One of the Brandons
McManus
kicking last night. Kicked that field goal as time expired, and then again as time expired in overtime.
Yeah.
To tie the game, it was electric. And now we got to enjoy it in the moment last night. But now, come 13 weeks from now, when we're trying to figure out all this playoff stuff, it just makes it that much more complicated, and we have to think that much more like accountants. And that's always fun for all of us in the sports world. The Packers defense is broken. As fun as it looked through the first week, second half of the first week of the season,
sure,
it's not the same defense anymore. That's the thing about defense in the NFL. It's volatile. It changes like that. The Cowboys offense, it's fun even without CeeDee Lamb. Wow. Hi, George Pickens. Nice to finally see you again. And I don't believe in this Packers offense. Jordan Love just has a twinge of fraud in him.
It was fun watching both those quarterbacks, man. Dak Prescott played a hell of a game. George Pickens. Whew. CD who? They didn't need him last night. George Pickens looked really good. And that was one of the encouraging things you take away if you're the Cowboys. I don't know what you do on defense if you're that team. They're going to give up 1,000 points. We're coming back. Welcome back to this Monday edition of the show. We've gone through the NFL. We've done some baseball. Now let's talk some college football, because if it's a Monday on the show, it means Bill Bender is here. Does a great job sporting news on all things college football. So I was enjoying a juicy steak with my partner out on the patio on Saturday night, and I said, hey, I got to turn on that Penn State-Oregon game. Boy, did I turn it on just in the nick of time for the late fourth quarter and then the overtime of that game, Bill. You were there. First of all, describe the atmosphere in the whiteout and this matchup between a couple of top 10 teams.
It's the best atmosphere in college football.
Wow.
It really is. It's unbelievable how loud it is. I think, as Dan Lanning said, it's worth a touchdown, and I buy that. There was a couple possessions where you thought, yeah, the crowd made a difference there. Now, getting into the overtime, here's one thing I'll say about James Franklin. We're all reciting the stats about his top 10 losses and his losses to Big Ten teams, but I just think it magnifies the criticism. Like, he punted from his own 39-yard line on 4th and 9. You know what? If they miss a field goal, we'll criticize them. If they go for it and miss, we criticize them. He's in that unenviable spot where everything in a big game is magnified.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, they get away with, they get this game into overtime, and then Allard makes the late interception in the second overtime. What was your overall impression on Allard in this game?
I like Drew Allard. I think he's super accountable. He's a good kid. He's had to show up for all these top 10 losses and talk about his play. I don't think they have the guys on the outside for him to have like a Heisman Trophy season. All that said, you can't make that throw in that spot, right? He tried to get the Oregon safety, Dylan Thieneman, made an awesome play, but this just goes to show he struggles in these top 10 games. And you can feel it in that stadium, Jason, the frustration, the want to
anxiety.
Is there. It's all there. It's all there. And every time they pushed, it looked like I thought they were going to win. I really did think they were going to win that game. But a testament to Dante Moore going in that environment and knocking out 2 touchdowns in the overtime sessions.
The way Franklin handled it after the game, basically, I thought, in a day and age where we get a Dabo Swinney who gets, ornery when he's asked certain questions, or the guy at LSU, his name is escaping me.
BK.
Yeah, BK. You get Franklin up there, and he took it, and I guess you have to when your record is what his record is against top 10 opponents. How did you feel about the way Franklin sort of carried himself after this?
I mean, I thought it was fine, and it's admirable in some ways. And again, here's a guy that he's going to wear the criticism. And Drew Allar's going to wear the criticism. But, it's a tough opponent at home. And I think one of the things with Penn State, it is a blue blood program, but they've got to start winning some of those games. Their next opportunity might be against Indiana before Ohio. Indiana-Ohio State, they play these 2 top 10 games, and I think those will be pivotal for the program. I think James Franklin is a very good coach in a very tough spot, because they just can't win those games. But I accept the accountability. I have accountability for going 6-10 against the spread last week, but I should be 7-9. But I can blame Fernando Mendoza for that.
All right, let's talk about Alabama, because we all had them dead and buried after basically their first game of the year, rightly so. Or maybe not rightly so. I don't know. But give me a thought here on Alabama going into Georgia and going into Athens and beating a team that hasn't lost at home in a long time.
It's not out of question to consider them the SEC favorite now.
What a turn. Really? That's what we're doing?
I think we can. They beat Georgia. They end that 33-game win streak. They've got a quarterback with 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. That Florida State loss was out of conference. And, Kalen, for all the road woes, 14-2 against ranked opponents. That's the opposite of Franklin, 14-2 since his last 2 seasons at Washington. I think they're going to take it to Vanderbilt, too. That's an unpopular take. I think, the Commodores are very popular around Diego Pavia, but we remember Nick Saban in the revenge games. Here's another kind of barometer for Kalen DeBoer to be measured against.
On a scale of 1 to 5, I didn't know we'd have this much time, so I'm actually kind of happy. On a scale of 1 to 5, your level of shock with Virginia doing what it did against Florida State.
3.5.
Okay.
Because I mean, getting out, I knew they had a good offense. I didn't think they'd get out 14-0. And then when Florida State evened the game, you kind of figure, okay, the Seminoles will take over. But credit to Tony Elliott. They kept it on the ground. They kind of exposed a average Florida State run defense. And that's something I think Miami will take advantage of this week. Here's one quick thing.
Sure.
The students got to be careful not to get on the field before that final whistle blows. That was really close.
It's horrifying. I don't know how the guys in the end zone didn't get trampled. Like I don't. That was one of the most surreal things that I've watched. Arkansas gets dusted by Notre Dame, and then there's all sorts of coaching upheaval. There's all sorts of coaching upheaval over there with Bobby Petrino overhauling that staff. Bill.
Yeah, I think they're going to want Red Lashley. That's going to be the coveted coach, the former Arkansas quarterback who's done a nice job at SMU. We get to watch Bobby Petrino coach. You want to talk about a surreal world. Bobby Petrino's back on the sideline for Arkansas. He had some success there the first time around before the incident that got him fired. I'll leave it at that. But, I mean, he took him to a Sugar Bowl. He's a good play caller. And it's just a reminder that life in this SEC, this new SEC, can be very difficult for some of those middle-class programs.
Hey, Notre Dame won. What do you know? Bill Bender, our friend over at the Sporting News, doing a great job, as always, on college football. I'm telling you, I still can't get over all these coaches getting fired in college football. Bill, always appreciate you, my man. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
We're back with more Sports Wrap on a Monday. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. A little bit of NASCAR and a little bit of WNBA. We had to forsake the NASCAR segment that we normally do on Mondays because there's just too much going on. Apologies to Brian Twining. He's over it, though. All right, let's talk baseball. The playoffs are set. They'll get underway on Tuesday. Oh, look at that. Look at that evil, maniacal stare from Sam Yarnell, ladies and gentlemen. That's your next meme. All right, Sam. A word on the New York Mets from Sam Yarnell, ladies and gentlemen.
The New York Mets, a baseball club, an organization, a franchise that goes together with baseball in September the same way one would mix oil and, say, water. The same way one would mix fall and spring. Two things that just don't go together. They never will. They never have. The same thing that we saw in 2005 and then again in 2007, we saw once again over the weekend in 2025. 20 years and time remains a flat circle for Met fans. The same story, the same type of season, a historic roster, a historic payroll, one of the best free agents we've ever seen of all time. And you didn't even make the expanded playoff. My goodness. And I don't just say the team. I say the organization, the franchise, dare I say the borough, dare I say the city. We'll get to that on a later show. But I say more than just the team because it was just more than the team. It wasn't just the guys on the field or the guys on the bench or the manager in the dugout. It was the guys in the booth. They couldn't even hold themselves together over the last month of the season. What did they say after that game yesterday?
I'm watching the Marlins. They just took a team picture in front of their dugout like they're going to the postseason.
Oh, this was their World Series.
Oh,
they took 2 out of 3, knocked the Mets out of the postseason. We saw the Reds celebrating in Milwaukee.
It was their World Series. He's exactly right. As it should have been. Because of this wonderful 3-game series to end this beautiful month of September, the Miami Marlins assured themselves of one thing, that the New York Mets will be watching the World Series from the very same place they will. Punta Cana on 3, New York. Congratulations on Juan Soto.
Very well said, Sam. I wonder if Juan Soto, remember when he signed with the Mets and everybody lost their minds in New York when he said the reason he went to go play with the Mets was it gave him the best chance to win? I wonder how he's feeling about that on Monday morning. Remember that? He was like, going to play with the Mets. Best chance to win. And I have to say, by the way, I'll take a little bit of a hit because I thought the way the Mets roster was set up, that long term, I actually thought he was right. And now after watching what's transpired here this season, I couldn't have been more wrong about this Mets team that underachieved horrendously. And somebody's going to have to be offered up as a sacrifice. And it ain't going to be Juan Soto, and it ain't going to be Francisco Lindor. I don't know if Alonso will be back with this team next year or not. He's probably gone. Somebody's going to have to be offered up as a sacrifice. And it's not going to be Frank the Tank. It's probably, although, well, never mind. I'm not going to say.
The only Mets fan I like, Frank the Tank.
I know. And he gives us lots of entertainment. He really does. And he was losing his mind yesterday, as you could imagine. He'd torn his shirt off. He looked like
it was beautiful.
Like
I loved it. That guy loves ball.
But it's going to probably be Carlos Mendoza. And if it's not, then the Mets fans are going to probably storm the gates of Citi Field. They're going to storm the gates of Citi Field. I mean, you can count on it if Carlos Mendoza isn't out of a job. Final thoughts on the way this whole thing sets up. You're going to get Yankees, Red Sox in the wild card round, which is kind of crazy unto itself. That's
cinema.
It absolutely is. And you're going to get Fried versus Crochet in Game 1 at Yankee Stadium on Tuesday night. I can't wait for that. Tigers Guardians get to reacquaint themselves with each other because they're meeting up too. Boy, isn't the wild card round great? We've got a bunch of divisional rivals. Padres Cubs should be fantastic. And hey, man, say a prayer for the Reds that they don't get absolutely destroyed by the Los Angeles Dodgers in that wild card round.
I don't want to say it. I did place 2 wagers
on the Reds, didn't you?
Already.
Of course you did.
No. I placed a major multiple unit. I'm super confident in this play wager on the Cincinnati, or not the Cincinnati Reds. I'm sorry. The National League to win the World Series. You can find it at multiple shops in like the minus 118, minus 120 range. This is a bet that I've made. This will be like the second year in a row. I'm very confident in the National League this year in terms of the talent gap. I took the Cleveland Guardians to win the World Series. Give me the hot team.
What number did you get?
22 to 1, 22 to 1, 33 to 1. Some multiple of 11 to 1, and it wasn't 11.
Yankees minus 178 to beat the Red Sox. The Cubs minus 124 to beat the Padres. Padres plus 106 in that series. Basically dead even. Tigers minus 112. Guardians minus 104 in that series. You can get the Reds at plus 200, Sam Yarnell. The Dodgers at minus 245. October baseball. It's here. We can't wait. We'll be talking about it, I can promise you. But you know what we're talking about coming up in about 10 minutes? No, even less than that. Like 4 or 5 minutes by now. We're going to get into the WNBA. One series in the conference semifinals left to be decided. NASCAR 2. All right, we keep things moving on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Before we wrap things up, get you some odds and ends, a couple of reminders. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show in fantastic, mostly crystal clear audio. Monday through Friday, 45 minutes commercial free. Planes, trains, automobiles, wherever you want to listen, make sure to check out the show. You can also watch us on over 270 affiliates around the U.S. and Canada, and that includes all sorts of great regional sports networks around the country. We love you guys. Always appreciate you watching. But if you also want to consume the show, and you can't get to a TV or don't have the opportunity to watch it, maybe it gets preempted, there could be live sports on a given night, you can also watch this show on our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. It is there for you. Clips from the show, sometimes clips not from the show. Sports Wrap shorts are red hot right now. If you are not subscribed to us on YouTube, you're missing out on Sports Wrap shorts. Make sure to go and check those out as well. And without any further delay on this Monday, Sam Yarnell, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell, the WNBA playoffs. One half of the WNBA finals is set. It will be the Phoenix Mercury advancing to the WNBA finals in a year that was kind of a rebuild year for them, where they sort of tore it down. They sent Brittany Griner out, Diana Taurasi retired, and all of a sudden you turn around, the Phoenix Mercury back in the WNBA finals for the first time in a while. They will take on the winner of the Indiana Fever Las Vegas Aces series, which is going to go to a fifth game, which we'll get to in a second. But first, a thought on what transpired in this Lynx Mercury series, where Nafisha Collier was injured on a physical play, but I didn't think it was a dirty play or anything like that. You had officiating getting criticized, as it has been throughout this entire season. But Phoenix in the WNBA finals, and Minnesota's going home.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, what was it, Friday when Fee hurt her left ankle?
Thursday or Friday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you don't ever want to say that like deflates an entire team because it's basketball.
Absolutely.
But like it did. I think it's weird that like we've had very similar circumstances now in the NBA and WNBA. That was like my immediate thought was obviously the Tatum thing was a little bit different, but like same round of the playoffs, right? To go with the finals on the line. I don't know, just a weird moment of discrepancy there in the time-space continuum. But regardless, good series by the Mercury. Just because Fee went down, by no means did it mean the Mercury's, had the series in their laps, but they went out and they won it for themselves. So good for them. I'm locked into this Aces Fever series, Jason. I cannot wait to see who the winner of this Game 5 is.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I'll tell you what else is interesting. If Indiana...
All right, that's two coins in the jar. You just back-to-backed it.
I stink. Indiana, if they wind up in the WNBA Finals, the pressure on that team next year and on Caitlin Clark to not go backwards, because people are going to say, well, I mean, you add Caitlin Clark. Now, all of this is fallacy in a lot of different ways. The idea that you add Caitlin Clark next year means they should automatically go and be in a WNBA Finals team or something like that. The whole chemistry and composition of the team changes when you insert Caitlin Clark into it. Now, some may argue if they don't make the WNBA Finals next year with Caitlin Clark, or if they're not near the WNBA Finals next year with Caitlin Clark, it will somehow be an indictment on her, which I don't necessarily think is fair. Sam, but yeah, Game 5 for a trip to the WNBA Finals with the Aces, who are obviously a perennial powerhouse, and Indiana. It should be fun to watch.
Yeah, just real quick on the Clark thing. Sure. I think if there is a world where Indiana makes it to the finals this year and then they don't live up to expectations next year, I know the circumstances are a little bit different, but it feels reminiscent of like the Elena Delle Donne situation from when she moved to Chicago to Washington, however many years ago that was. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Asia thing is very, 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 very underrated in terms of a narrative. I think it would be very, very cool to see her win MVP and WNBA Finals MVP in the same season. I'll be locked in, man. The W's got my attention this week.
That game will be on Tuesday night in Las Vegas. I might actually have to go to that game Tuesday night. And I have yet to go to a live sporting event other than NASCAR here since I moved to Las Vegas a year ago because I just hate crowds.
It's crazy that's the only one you've been to.
I know. I don't like crowds. I don't like fighting crowds. Speaking of NASCAR, by the way, Chase Elliott, your winner in overtime on Sunday at Kansas Speedway, came from 8th to win the checkered flag. They had overtime there in that race. My boy Bubba Wallace had a shot to win, and unfortunately didn't pick up the victory. But Chase Elliott, your winner, as they get ready to cut it down to 8 for NASCAR's playoffs. That's going to do it for us on this Monday edition of the show. Send all of your correspondences Those of you in the South to our friend Sam Yarnell, at Sam_Yarnell. He will take them on anything you want to talk to him about. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Bill Bender. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And one more note before we go, because there just isn't enough news today. Bob Melvin out as manager of the San Francisco Giants after 2 seasons. He was 161 and 163. And this was just after Buster Posey, the GM there, gave him a vote of confidence a few months ago. Goes to show you what that is worth. All right, now we are really done. See y'all back here on Tuesday for another edition of Sports Wrap.